Hi, welcome everybody, and welcome to this talk, which we're going to call Sex, Love, and Tapping, a frank conversation about who to work with relationship issues. And I am your host for this dialogue with EFT relationship expert, my wife, business partner, Alina Frank.
Hey, hey, Craig, from
Hi.
on the other side of the property. Hey.
Hey, hi. I love getting to introduce Alina. And there's so many things I could say. I'll keep it brief though. But she does have over 20 years of experience working with thousands of clients around the world. She's a master trainer of trainers. She's mentored and certified hundreds and hundreds of EFT practitioners. She's been a contributing author of 8 EFT books. She's the best-selling author of the classic How to Want Sex Again. She co-produced with me the Science of Tapping film project, and she started and originated the EFT Relationship Coach Certification Program. So without any further ado, hi.
Hi.
So I've got a bunch of questions that I want to ask you about this program so people know a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
And I'll even probably find out some information. I don't know. So the first thing I want to know is, you got your start with the founder of EFT, Gary Craig. Can you just tell us a little bit about kind of that origin story, how it all started for you?
Sure. So I took the training from Gary Craig. I was certified through Gary Craig, and I was really in search of something for health related issues, and that's how I stumbled upon EFT back in the day. And I fell in love with it, and I knew it was something that I really wanted to do and as a career path. And within a year, I was doing workshops and trainings and teaching others. And I had this interesting opportunity happen where Gary and the producer of Operation Emotional Freedom, Eric Hury, was doing work at the time with Gary Craig, and they launched a forum, and they invited me to be the moderator for a section of the forum on Gary Craig's site that was called women's issues. And it was kind of global and big and all encompassing, because what isn't a women's issue if you're a woman, right? So but I think that's really where I started to see very clearly that there was so much at the root for the common thread for many women, whether it was around money or health or cravings or body image stuff, that there was so much connected to sex, that I knew that I wanted to, if I really wanted to help women, I really needed to work on that particular issue with many of my clients. And the answers that I was giving in that forum were around that. But it took many years later of kind of getting the a little imposter syndrome, huh? Feeling not congruent with the idea that I was out there giving advice on sex, intimacy, and relationship, when that was a whole area of my life that I was in deep denial about. So yeah, then the work began again, because at that point I had done my personal peace procedure. I had done all of that, and really getting that slammed in my face again and again, like something I have to work on. So that's how it started.
Got it. Yeah, clients will do that, won't they? They'll bring up the one unresolved issue in your life. Clients will tend to like, oh, here, let me present that to you again and again and again.
Well, yeah, and that is really the blessing of, and some might say that's not such a great blessing, is the idea that all your unresolved issues will continue to present themselves to you. And if you're an EFT practitioner, they will come in the form of clients wanting help with that particular issue.
Okay.
And
So
so,
yeah, so around that time, so that's when you realize, oh, I got my own work to do here. When
yes.
did you kind of become the EFT sexpert, as I've heard you call?
Yeah, so that happened because I decided that I needed to, well, I had, like we're saying, their clients are going to show up. I had one client after another showing up with, and their main presenting issue was being in a sexless relationship. And I realized that, I mean, it was like week in and week out, I was getting nothing but that. So I threw up my hands in the air and I said, okay, universe, I get it. I hear you. I got to stop being in denial about this. Let me work on that issue for myself. And so then that led to ending a long relationship, my marriage, my first marriage, and really clearing out this whole area for myself. And then meeting you, and you had something to do with this idea, and then I just started to see, oh, I'm happy and that's contributing to my success. And so it's so I want I would love for this interview to also be about helping practitioners work on how they can work on these issues with their clients.
Right.
And so you, the first tip I'll give you about working with sex, as you know, like for those that have been in this for any amount of time, they see the connection between sexual injury and just about everything, uh, business success, fear of putting themselves out there. You've got to get comfortable with asking the questions, with using the words, letting go of shame, embarrassment, and cultural conditioning that you've had in order to ask the question. If you don't feel comfortable asking the question, your clients won't go there with you. They will
Mhm.
sense your reservation, hesitation, and embarrassment
Mhm.
and
Even
will
if that's
not go.
not something you usually talk about or words you say, you need to find
Exactly.
that safety and rapport because it's their languaging and their description.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So that's when it started. And then you and I decided that we were going to launch a program called Path to Passion, which was that was like the first online course that we did. And that was
Huh.
like 12 years ago.
Wow.
And that was like a self-guided course for people wanting to work on sex and challenges around sex. Um, and so that's kind of where it took off from there. And eventually I wrote the book, like you said.
So you were mentioning a lot of this is about practitioners working with relationship issues.
Yes.
And that's a major one: health, relationship, money. I mean, it's one of the big three. So I know EFT practitioners out there are working with people that are dealing with, say, suboptimal relationships,
Yeah.
right? Ones that are not the way they want them to be, not ideal, at least not currently. What would be some sort of tip or something that you could share with practitioners for how to work with clients that are dealing with these less than ideal relationships that they're struggling with and having problems with?
Right. I will say that I love this as a niche. I love that women want and practitioners want to specialize in these sorts of issues around relationship, because I do find that it's not only very satisfying, but it's very lucrative because you will never run out of clients. And the vast majority of people that come for EFT are women, and the vast majority of women have at the root will have some sort of relationship issue, if that's tied in together with those other things like health and abundance and things like that. And so um I would say that for working with, so you're going to have a big percentage of women showing up whose husbands will not go, whose partners will not entertain the idea of doing this weird tapping thing or even any kind of therapy. You know, I was cracking up the other night because we were watching this Netflix series, and it's a couple that's going to couples counseling. And because the wife insisted on it, like, we have to go and do this to save our relationship. And so you kind of get like, oh, they're going to couples counseling, they're working on it, how wonderful for them, they're being so honest and direct and communicating well in the couples counseling session. And so then you see that the main character, they drove separately, so she takes off and he's sitting in his car and he's waiting and he's waiting and he's waiting for her to leave. He goes back into the therapist's office and hands her a stack of money. Like, next time, can you make it seem like, you don't completely agree with me? So the whole thing was a ruse. And I thought that's so classic because by and large, men just won't go. And so I would say that it's important for you not to insist that the other half of the relationship show up and do the work, that there's plenty of work to do with the person that is seeking help. And
Mhm.
so I think that meeting the client with where they're at, working on what exactly is happening in the relationship, um, all of their grievances with their partner, when you turn that around, things change. And is it a guarantee that the person will end up saving their relationship and going back and everything's going to be great in their marriage? Absolutely not. What it does is get you, like, fast forward and go lightning speed to the things that need to change, the decisions that the person is grappling with, making peace with outcomes one way or the other. And I think that it is, I personally feel, there's no research on this, not yet, but I personally feel that when comparing it to like traditional models of how one would work with this, well, we know that traditional couples counseling has the biggest rate of failure of any type of therapy. And so I think that what happens with EFT is you do end up going to not only the current situation, but because we're engaging in the subconscious and all the early childhood programming, it does go there almost organically if you start working on what's happening currently in a relationship and look for the pattern of how this has shown up and what might this be related to, what parent is your partner showing up as, or your client's partner showing up as. So there's the projections that happen where we are projecting how unhappy we are onto our partner, and vice versa. And there's also the idea of who are they standing in for? Like, you and I have talked about this a lot, that in our first marriages, we really married our fathers, right? And so, and all of the things that were unhealed about that parental relationship then just carried over. And so expect that to happen. Ask your clients about it, maybe in a discovery session, even before you ever even do any tapping. You're asking about, well, that's interesting that you say you always, you never feel heard. Do you think that has earlier origins? Which one of your parents made you feel, on not listened to, or unheard, right?
No, that's good. It's like you say, your mother, your father. It's only so many choices, but it's amazing how those patterns show up.
Yes.
Um, some people also, one thing that, I was talking about the big three. Do you find that when you're working, and especially with women, that the idea of financial success and money stuff, that they often get connected or interwoven with the state of their relationship?
Absolutely.
Because I don't think they, not all women show up, of course, with relationship problems, the issue they want to work on. A lot of it is their career or their abundance or et cetera. So how do those connect?
Yeah, so I found, so like every program that I've ever developed, every book or article that I've written, I mean, I really feel like the biggest laboratory for all of this is me. So everything has come from me, from my search, from my journey. And I've seen it sort of verified by the clients that I see and the successes that they have with through the process of EFT. So the money stuff, right? So I feel that and this has been, you know, documented about the difference between women's brains and men's brains. And so women have more of a holistic, it's kind of challenging for them to compartmentalize. And so if I am I'm a romantic partner, I feel that being part of a romantic relationship, it's just part of who I am, and threads of that are still rolling around in my head even when I'm at a business meeting. It's like when I'm a mother, I'm always a mother, and there's a part of me that can't turn that off. And so I see many women try to be successful entrepreneurs or being EFT practitioners that when they want to go big, I mean really big and thriving, not just surviving, um, they'll sort of like, how stable is this foundation? I need to jump on it and test it and see if I can launch from here. Or is it too rickety for me to do that? And then I retreat. I don't follow through. I don't commit to a plan to succeed. And so I've seen that play out many times. And I know it was true for me. And I wasn't able to really succeed financially until I was in a wonderful, loving, supportive, romantic relationship with my husband. Um,
Well,
so yeah, and yeah, just thinking back, this is great that you're interviewing me, because I don't know that people know how we met was through
um,
you interviewing me.
okay. So that is very true. It
Hmm.
actually began when I had decided to overcome a challenge I had. And I said, you know what? I'm skeptical about this EFT thing. I was putting on these lectures for the public and patients called transformational dialogues. And part of me just said, you know what? You honestly, Craig, you really don't know much about this tapping thing, this EFT thing. Okay, let's go ahead. You know, let's put the skepticism aside. And so I literally, it still had to be Google back then. But anyway, so I searched online
Yeah.
for does anybody in my community do this EFT? There was one person. So I called that one person. I said, would you like to do an interview kind of presentation for my patients in the community about this?
Yeah.
Fortunately, she said yes and came over to the office. And of course, it was a transformational dialogue, because look at where we are now. Alina Frank was the only person that showed up. And you did this amazing presentation on EFT, and you worked with my staff on cessation of smoking
Yeah.
urges, and
Yeah, that was
etc.
great.
Yeah, so this is where it all began, was doing this.
Yeah, yeah, that was it was a magical evening, and for many reasons. And I, you know, that idea of luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I had been preparing myself because I had just ended my marriage, and I was going through all of these ideas of what do I need in order to heal, in order to find my ideal partner. And you came in like within a month, which was amazing. Um, and yeah, so that's where it all started.
So thank you. I feel like I've been manifested. Um, so I want to ask, so the work that you're doing, the coaching program, and working with practitioners to really develop this niche, there are a lot of other couples therapists out there,
Yeah.
right? Traditional talk therapy world, you know, couples therapists. We'll just call it that, marriage and family and couples therapists. Um, I've heard you say, you know, many a time that you saved their marriage. So could you
Mhm.
compare a little bit, not that one is better than the other, et cetera, but could you compare a little bit between the differences between maybe traditional CBT talk therapy, family therapy, as most people picture it, kind of well, not exactly like the ruse that you mentioned on the TV, but traditional therapy and EFT for working for the relationship in couples.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly don't want to knock it. And I've trained enough therapists that include EFT in their practice to know the value of combining the two. I would say that for couples or people that are in a relationship that have other additional challenges such as addiction, such as attachment issues, all of those things, I do think that they absolutely could benefit from traditional talk therapy and a therapist holding that role. It is not within our scope of practice as EFT practitioners to do that kind of work. I will say that the model for what happens in traditional talk therapy is the idea of communication about um, uh, communication, boundaries, behavior change, and those sorts of things, which all involve sort of like your thinking rational, logical, prefrontal cortex.
Right.
Like so we've done a communications training, or it's been part of the work that I'm doing is working on my communication style. I've learned how to do this. However, in the middle of something that is just up, and we've been through this 20 times and we're arguing about the same old thing, uh, it's my prefrontal cortex is hijacked by the emotional part of my brain. And so I can't come up with those things. And so the difference for me is that we work directly on the trigger and the source of the trigger so that you're not triggered. Those other things are great enhancements, but I feel like EFT gets to right then that emotional anchor that's holding that in place, that's preventing a couple from moving forward and being able to be more kind and loving and compassionate and listening to each other. You resolve the triggers so they're just not there.
So in your program, you work to help practitioners work with one person, especially women in the relationship, but sometimes couples together or side by side. And
Couples together side by side works beautifully simultaneously, because you're having there have to be things in place like boundaries, agreements, the pre-framing of how you work. And the way that I felt most comfortable working would be to do some sessions with each person individually, looking for the common thread that ran between them. And again, going back to that idea that you're my mirror for my unresolved issues, there's might be some trauma bonding that's happened. I'm looking for those when I'm working individually with the clients, and then for the rest of the sessions, um, I'm seeing people together. And so what's great about that is that we're doing borrowing benefits, so that both people are tapping. And the greatest conflict around, well, they don't listen to me, they're not really listening. When your partner is repeating verbatim everything that you're saying, that goes out the window. You really get that they are using your words exactly as you stated them. And then give the person that is getting the borrowing benefits a sheet of paper and a pen, and say, write down what comes up. You're not to interrupt, but when we switch, so the way that I preferred to work it was 45 minutes each way, with the session. And then honoring that you're gonna have all the time in the world. You've got your own segment of this session that's going to happen just for what's coming up, and you're writing down things that come up for you on that sheet of paper, and then we switch. And I just love that model. But with what's happened is I just got to be so busy. So I had a waitlist practice of about 6 months, and I decided that I would be helping a lot more people if I really started to take those nearly, decades experience. And I really focused on training practitioners. And so now, if any, I still get people asking for me for couples work or sex and intimacy work or singles work. And what I do is I refer them to the coaches that I've certified in EFT relationship coaching.
Okay. So, in the title of this interview, we did mention that three-letter word, and you had mentioned so far that as a practitioner, you've got to find a level of stability and comfort in
Right,
talking about those things, whatever your background in
right.
relationship to sexuality is. There is a wide variety of sexuality and sexual expression out there
Yeah.
that if you open up to this, that you're going to deal with. So, what about working with clients that really want to deal with sexual intimacies, sexual performance, sexual variety? What is it that you'd like to say about being a practitioner who does want to work with that population?
Yeah. So you got to get comfortable with just even the baseline. I mean, you got to be willing to tap on and explore your feelings of being uncomfortable with using words like vagina and vulva, and maybe some words that you think are vulgar, like pussy and cock. I mean, for me to say that, I mean, that's how much work I've done on this, that I feel comfortable as a Latina brought up Catholic girl. um, I so it really is, the first step is for you to just get comfortable with those things, and also knowing what it is that you want to be working with and what is it that you do not want to work with. And that's okay. We get to choose who we want as ideal clients. And maybe you um can't even you can't you, your value system is saying that you won't work with people that are in polyamory relationships. Well, that you don't have to. You can say that you feel comfortable only working with straight monogamous relationships, and that's okay. And the place to do that would be on your website and your description of what it is that you work with, and having a consultation with clients ahead of time to just make sure that it's a good fit with anything that you do. The other thing is, you and I often say in our EFT trainings that you don't, in our business coaching program, that we there there are things that you shouldn't work with if you don't want to, and shouldn't work with if they're triggering. And so if you're still really unresolved about some of these issues, should you be working in the arena of sexual healing if you still have a lot of stuff around maybe childhood sexual abuse? No. And so every practitioner is going to be different about their scope and what they're willing to work with, and the breadth and the depth of these different ways of, and different clients and their problems.
So, practitioners that are looking to create a niche or a specialty to stand out from all the other EFT practitioners. Um, so, I do know a little bit. In your program, you have different modules, different pathways, different ways of working with relationship. Could you explain a little bit about, even
Yeah.
I'm completely familiar with the different kind of tracks and the different ways that you work with training practitioners. It's more complicated than I know, but
It
maybe you can
is.
explain that and simplify it a little bit.
It is. And just recently, I started thinking about everything that it took to get this program going. It took about 7 years to get it
Mhm.
launched, because I really wanted it not to be sort of another program that you take and you get a certificate for. I know the value of of personal work. And so the tracks that I've designed, one is a specialty in learning to find love, soulmate attraction, how to find the one, singles dating track. The second track is around working with couples, or someone who is coupled and is having challenges in their romantic relationship.
Okay.
And then the third one is the sex and intimacy track. And that is whether you're in a couple or not, you know that you have challenges around sex and intimacy that you want to work through. So when I came up with, okay, that I'm looking back at Path to Passion, I'm looking back at When to End It, When to Stay, I'm looking back at um, the book, and it's all came together. And so what I have asked, so I form a small group cohort once a year, and just graduated my first 7, and I'm really, really proud of these ladies. And what I have, like I said, I don't want you to just go through the program and bang, boom, you got a certificate. I see the value and the growth that happens in working through these issues where you need help. And so not only are you at the beginning of the program deciding, I want to work and specialize in this track, but I also have you declare which one of those 3 areas you yourself need help with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I connect the women in the program. Let's say there's a woman in the program that is specializing in sex and intimacy, and someone on the other side of the world is you is it, that's their professional track that they're going for. I pair them up for working with each other,
Okay.
and we're also meeting as a group. And so it's been a wonderful community that has developed, kind of a sisterhood that has developed as a result of these 9 months of working with each other and getting feedback on working with clients in these different tracks. Once you're part of the program, you can go off and do the other tracks, but it's like an overview of how to work with relationships and then a deep dive into one of those 3 for the purpose of certification. And you have the rest of the program that you can access at any time and decide that, oh yeah, I want to specialize in another track. And I would say that 3/4 of the women that graduated recently, they are doing another track already. They're already decided, I get that. I've evolved and grown so much in this area that I now want to do it as a practitioner. That's usually what happens.
So from what I'm hearing, it's online, I
Yeah.
assume. So
It's online. There is a retreat component of like getting together in person that has been sort of on hold for now, but that will happen. I think that what I'm thinking is next spring I will have this cohort that's starting now and the cohort that graduated will all come together and
yeah,
have a wonderful community gathering.
and there's group work, private work. It's just a mix. There's are case studies. Like, can you just give a little bit of a feel for what's entailed?
Yeah, so it is meeting monthly as a group. It's meeting one-on-one with me. It's turning in some case studies, 2 case studies, and it is doing a video recorded session for review, and access to all of those programs that I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, some of those, 2 of those programs, you get full access to and licensed so that you can actually, if you like one component and not another, or you think the order should be this, that, and the other thing, or you want to take it and call it something different, I'm okay with that. Because I'm at the point now where I really feel my calling at this point is to mentor and 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 give that information to women that are doing the one-on-one work with their clients. I'm just not, I'm not doing that anymore. So I love the idea of part of this program is for me to just, this is the material. You actually have handouts you can use on day 1. You can have a program that your clients can go to, that you can access on through your own website or those standalone websites. It's a lot. It's a lot of great material, and it was all just kind of funny how you look back and you say, "Oh, that's why that came to me. I needed to put it part of this package." So, yeah, it's been
And
great. It's been great fun.
it's intimate. There's not like 100 women in the class or all online, right? It's not.
Yeah. No, it's ideally between 7 and 8 women each cohort. So, yeah.
So they get private real private attention.
Yeah,
That's
there's one-on-one work, there's group, there's a complete section of a website that's just devoted for containing all this material that they get.
awesome. So you said once a year,
Yes.
right? What is the start? Is there an application, like somebody that is interested in going, oh, I either want to find out more and ask you questions and
Yeah.
have some communication, or I know I want that and I want to apply, or what
Yeah.
is that like? When does it start? How do they?
So, yeah. So we're going to start in October, and I'm reviewing applications now in September. And you go to www.eftrelationshipcoach.com. And at the end of the process, you do get logos and a full certification and a certificate that says you are an EFT relationship coach certified. Yeah.
And is there any minimum that people have to start? Can it, like if somebody doesn't know EFT, can they do this?
Um, I have not had that request. I think that what I'm looking for is people that have at least done some training, maybe not certified in EFT, but that have done some degree of practice with the modality before I accept them in the program. Because and it's amazing how much you do learn in the process, because part of what you get in the program is access to repeating our trainings as often as you want. And so
As
so
you, okay.
repeating and reviewing the stuff that you think you learned one way, and you gotta brush up and perfect now.
Right. Well, it sounds like a fabulous opportunity if that's something that somebody is called to really specialize in work in. Is there
Yeah.
anything else just before I wind this down that you want to add or say or share? Um,
Yeah.
Bigger picture perspective, anything at all?
Yeah, I want to address the practitioner listening to this, and I want to say that um, there is the work the work of helping clients with relationship challenges is some of the most sacred work that you will ever do. It is the source of so much joy, and and can be the source of so much pain and anguish. And so realize that it is deep, holy work that you are doing, and good on you for doing it and wanting to do it. So I encourage you to learn everything that you can about working with romantic relationship, whether it's about sex, intimacy, singles, or working with couples.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so
Um,
much.
and thank you on so many more levels beyond that, but just thank you for that right now.
All
Yeah,
right. Thanks,
my pleasure.
Greg.
You're welcome.